Ken.
What up, Will?
Man, I was talking to Felix, and for the people out there, Felix is the guy who does our artwork on our YouTube page. And I was talking to Felix, and for every album that we review, Felix listens to the album while he's doing the artwork.
Yep.
And he didn't like Sly Stone's Stand album.
Okay, that's why he didn't get a Christmas gift. I'm just saying.
That's correct. That's correct. And when I was talking to him, it just didn't connect with him. That was his thing. And so I really wanted to make sure that it was clear that he's not allowed to play in our playground anymore if he doesn't like this next album we're going to talk about today.
For real.
Because why don't you tell everyone out there who your favorite band of all time is?
I am a fan of the elements of the universe. Earth, wind, and fire.
Okay, and we're going to talk about their album, That's the Way of the World. And Ken, this album was released in 1975, number one on the charts, number one on the soul charts, certified triple platinum.
Yep.
This took Earth, Wind, and Fire from this collection of great musicians who hadn't put it all together yet, and all of a sudden, they just put it together, and then they ruled the world for like the next 6-7 years.
Yeah, this was it. This fifth album, this is when all the pieces came together and the stars aligned for the band.
And the band is the brainchild of Maurice White. And I think he has a fascinating history.
Absolutely.
Okay, so he was born in Memphis, and he was best friends with a famous keyboardist, which was
Booker T. Jones.
Booker T. Jones of Booker T. and the MGs. Okay, and then he left, went to go join some family in Chicago. All right, and what jazz trio did he join?
He was with Ramsey Lewis.
Okay, and the famous song from Ramsey Lewis Trio is The In Crowd. Right.
You've heard it, you just did not know it.
Right, because it's an instrumental.
Yeah.
So if you hear it, you're like, oh, I know that song. Or I've heard that song on commercials or
at a gathering, because it's that type of song where it's played in the background, it's a good groove, everyone's just, you don't pay attention to it, but you've heard it.
Right. And so then he said, no, I have to be me. And so then he forms his band, his baby, Earth, Wind, and Fire. And the Earth, Wind, and Fire that we're going to talk about today, the band members, this is like the second or third incarnation, because he had the first band that played on the first couple of albums, then he replaced members along the way, and then this band was with him from 1973 to 81, and that's when the band blew up.
Yep. Yeah, no, this was definitely, like I said, when the stars aligned for him. He found his players, and yeah, they were gold.
So if you're familiar with the Earth, Wind, and Fire, everybody knows September, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Fantasy, After the Love Is Gone, the hits we're going to talk about on this album, this is the band that did that.
Yeah, those songs you've heard off their greatest hits, Volume 1 and Volume 2.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this album, Ken. Let's go in to the meat of the album, and let's start off with the biggest hit of their career, number one on the Billboard charts, won a Grammy, okay? And I'm talking about Shining Star.
Now, the great thing, as you mentioned these accolades, let's go back. Album just drops.
Right.
We have this vinyl. We put it on. We drop that needle. And the first thing you hear is Al Mckay spanking that rhythm on the guitar. Yep. Introduction. Yeah, see, I'm already going and bouncing.
And then, after following Al Mckay,
those horns that hit. Bam!
Absolutely. And Ken, when I was writing my notes for this album, one of the best intros to any song that we have listened to so far.
Oh, this is the best out of the gate first track on any album we've covered. And we've covered great albums when we've had great first track, because like we always say, track number one, you have to come strong. You have to come out the out your corner swinging. This is a straight knockout.
No, they punched the world in the mouth with this one. No, you're absolutely right. And the great thing is that you have the vocal harmonies going on with Maurice and Philip Bailey singing, And Philip's he's not really doing his falsetto on this, so we're going to hold off on that, okay?
Yeah.
Let's not go off on a Philip Bailey tangent.
We're not even touching that yet.
Right. But all of the instruments that are allowed to shine on this song in such a brief time. This is only a 2-minute and 50-second song.
Yeah.
Okay, less than 3 minutes. Made for radio, pop hit, and everything shining. Al Mckay on the guitar, the keyboards, the bass, the horn section. Everyone is going off on this song. And it's compact, man. It's tight.
Yeah, it's like everyone was, instead of their 15 minutes of fame, everyone was allotted their 15 seconds.
That's right. No,
and
you're right.
It worked.
Perfectly. And I don't say that, right? Like, because I've heard this song 100 times. All right, I've heard September 1,000 times. I've heard this one 100.
Yeah.
Even though this is their biggest hit. But their song with the most longevity by far, September, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just kind of had this new life that it took on. With Shining Star is kind of like, you're going to hear it on oldies stations, at least when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Now, September is blasting, you hear it in restaurants, you hear it on radio, on TV, you know.
This one was used in one of the Scooby-Doo movies that my kids watch.
Oh, really?
That's how they know Shining Star.
So like 15 years ago, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
But anyway, no, you're absolutely right. That intro to this song punches you in the face. It's just like, wait a minute, why do I feel so happy? Wait a minute. Why am I moving my body? What's this? Like, you can't control yourself. It's just such a catchy groove.
And again, just to imagine, you pop that vinyl on the turntable, and the first time you hear this song, we had the misfortune or fortune, however you want to look at it, we were so small the first time we heard this that we didn't truly get to experience getting punched in the face by this song.
Right.
The way it does,
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, and look, we talked about this on the show before. My family wasn't listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire when I was a little kid, man.
Yeah, where I totally was.
Absolutely. I discovered Earth, Wind, and Fire later. Man, I'm still discovering Earth, Wind, and Fire songs.
Yeah, for real.
Okay, I mean, they had so many albums in that decade of the 70s where they were so prolific. I really had to catch up on them,
Oh, yeah.
And it was through your love of Earth, Wind, and Fire that I started branching off and say, oh, let me listen to every Kool in the Gang album that's ever been released, at least in the 70s.
Yeah.
A little bit in the 80s. Oh, the Commodores. Wait a minute. I don't just have to listen to Lionel Richie ballads. They could also groove.
Yeah, because as we've discussed, off camera, yeah.
Off the show.
Off the show. Back then, the standard was set so high that every band that came along, as we discussed, you don't have bands like this anymore, and the ones you've listed and named, but back then, they had to come correct, because everybody was laying down something tight. I mean, come on, Stevie Wonder was still in his prime during this period of time, so their contemporaries were titans.
The Isley Brothers blew up in the mid-70s.
Aretha Franklin still roamed the earth.
Yeah. And to be fair, when people like Aretha Franklin, it was kind of in the mid-70s that she kind of was going on that downward trajectory before she popped up in the 80s. Yeah.
And James Brown. But
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So just the fact that these people were still walking around making music, still had clout, they still put that bar up where it was.
No, you're right. And it wasn't just the R&B and funk artists either, because you still had the people who dominated the 70s, your Billy Joels, your Elton Johns, your Rod Stewarts, your Bee Gees.
Yep.
You had your rock musicians like Kiss. And we're going to talk about the Earth, Wind, and Fire live show in a little bit, okay? Because that's why I mentioned Kiss, because of the live show.
Yeah.
Okay, but when it comes to Shining Star, it's this compact, tight, memorable, catchy pop song with a funk groove where it's not just, okay, let's create this carbon copy pop song that gets recycled every few years.
Yeah.
No, it's serious musicians doing serious things and having fun while doing it.
Yeah. And you haven't heard anything like it, really.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yes,
and look, this is what's going to sound like a broken record because we always talk about the bassist in these bands.
Yeah,
right?
You have to, yeah.
I mean, we just do. I mean, because maybe it's the way that albums are remastered or the way that, my speakers sound. But when the bass just pops out of the speakers and you hear those bass lines and that groove, you just really start saying, oh my God, bassists aren't just there standing in the corner quietly, just keeping rhythm with the drummer.
Yep.
No, the bassist, Verdine White, who is Maurice White's brother, his little brother, one of his little brothers in the band, he's actually playing a melody. He's not just keeping the groove. He's actually playing a counter melody to the song's melody.
I don't know what it is about the White family because those brothers have so much energy. Like Maurice, I don't think he slept in his lifetime.
Right.
Verdine, you pull up old footage, and recent footage, he does not stand still. There isn't a part of him that is standing still. And those bass lines he's playing, they're no joke.
No, man. No. He has chops.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him and Larry Graham in a little bass battle or something. But the other member I want to mention here is Al Mckay, okay? And he's the guitarist. So there were two guitarists in Earth, Wind, and Fire at this time, Al Mckay and Johnny Graham.
Yeah.
Okay? And Al Mckay played with a soul outfit called Charles Wright and the Watts 103rd Rhythm Street Band. Man, that took a lot out of me. Okay. And for those who have never heard of them, you may have heard NWA Straight Outta Compton, and you heard where he says, "Express yourself." They sampled that from the Watts 103rd.
That was
okay.
Good.
Yeah, well, good. I mean, I try. Anyway, I'm going to get slaughtered for that. Anyway, express yourself. Anyway, that's who Mckay used to play with. So he jumped out of there and said, oh, Maurice White, one of the greatest musicians of all time, wants me to join him? I'm out. I'm in.
Yeah, because Maurice is a brainchild, man. He is a brainchild. Because again, this was his vision. This is his baby.
Yep.
And to create this, let's press, because I could talk about this one song all night. And
well, there is one thing I want to bring up, because for my own experience, there was another hit called "Shining Star" by the R&B vocal group The Manhattans.
Yes.
But that was released in 1980, and that one only hit number 5. The Manhattans are actually known for their number 1 hit in 1974, 76, I don't know. "Kiss and Say Goodbye." Okay, we're going to talk about that song later. But when I see "Shining Star," I'm like, oh, is that the Earth, Wind, and Fire version or Manhattan's version? They sound completely different.
Yeah. Completely
different vibe. But when I see "Shining Star," I actually heard or remembered the Manhattan's version first.
So if you listen to us talk about this song all hype and animated, and you hear the Manhattans, you're like, wait a minute.
I thought this was a happy, upbeat dancing song.
You'd be like, this is a great song, but this is nothing as hype as they were making it. It's 2 separate songs.
Just make sure. Okay. But you're right, though, man. One of the best album introductions that we've had, song ones that we've talked about so far. So let's go on to song 2. And we've talked about this concept too, the 1-2 punch. Hit him with the left, knock him out with the right.
And the Pretenders. So up until now, it was the Pretenders who were holding that record on the show.
And for me, oh my God, this is the song on the album. That's "The Way of the World," the title track. Now, I always thought the name of the song was Hearts of Fire.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's all.
Man, I was about to go on a rant until I read the lyrics about why don't they include the name of the song in the lyrics? Like, they could have had another number 1 hit off the album. And then I read the lyrics and it's like, oh, that's "The Way of the World" is in the lyrics.
Yep, that's the way.
But that's not what you remember.
No, yeah, it's
right?
not.
It sounds like background vocals.
You are correct. You would think
Hearts of Fire is what, instantly says, oh, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Snap. You know what? Now that you say that, back in the late 80s, early 90s, John Ritter and Marky Post had that television show, and it was called Hearts of Fire, and the theme song was this track.
I like that you said Marky Post, man.
Yeah, I did that.
What, was she on Night Court?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Make sure I got my old man certificate going. Okay. All right. Now look, man. Once again, this song, it doesn't start off all happy. It just starts out smooth. Has those soft horns going in, not the loud horns, the soft horn. And guess who's on that bass?
Oh yeah.
Verdine.
Man.
Verdine's right there. And so, look, more than any other Earth, Wind, and Fire song, this is very similar to mid-'70s Chicago. Right?
Funny as you say that, since up until recent, the two were touring together.
Oh, for years.
Yeah.
Like that was their thing. And when I saw them play, it was during one of their tours. It was Chicago and Earth, Wind, and Fire tour.
I said recent because I'm thinking, yeah, in 21st century, which is recent to us.
No,
yeah, it was the 21st century.
no, it was.
tour.
It was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
4 years ago. I saw Chicago in concert
That's why I'm chuckling to myself.
during the Chicago and Earth, Wind, and Fire tour.
Yep.
And I was so excited, except this was a benefit show where only Chicago showed up.
Oh.
No Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Ouch.
Yeah, I felt cheated. I honestly did. I was hurt. I mean, granted, it was a benefit show. They raised money for some kind of crooked charity. I don't care. But where's Earth, Wind, and Fire, man? Anyway, so this song on this entire album, and we mentioned vocal harmonies briefly earlier. On this entire album, this song by far has the best vocal harmonies of any song on this album.
I have to give you that. This song is the epitome of what a groove is. If you want to learn how to throw a groove, this is the song. Every element of a smooth groove is in this song. Like I said, 1-2 punch, man. Track one, leaning forward in your face. This one, we're leaning back and we're sailing. It's just smooth. This song, it's right there. Everything is in the pocket. Everything is a nice, perfect groove about this song.
Now, look, I still got to mention Verdine's bass in here.
Oh.
Okay? I'm probably going to mention him on every song we talk about because I was amazed at just how well he played. Because on stage, he's a showman.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to play, he's playing. He's playing correct.
Yeah.
Okay? But, man, the guitar solo in this song, Ken, and we're probably not going to talk much about the guitar for the rest of the album.
Yeah.
Okay? It's the guitar solo in this song. And so I know when you and I were talking, it was like, oh, we got to talk about Al Mckay. But then we watched the live version. It's like, oh, wait, that's not Al Mckay. Al Mckay's left-handed. I didn't know. You're the one who pointed it out to me. This is the right-handed guitar player, Johnny Graham. But we did see him play his solo in concert. What do you got to say about Johnny Graham?
One, it was good to see him play it live. Two, when you hear this track, the recorded version, yeah, somebody definitely loved B.B. King growing up, which is good. That means he was raised right. And three, I can hear, and watching that live footage, that the Midnight Special, yeah, it was apparent that other guitarists who were prominent in the 80s saw that show.
Well, you know what I thought of when we were watching him play the solo is I thought of Eric Clapton. Not that he and Eric Clapton play the same style of music or anything. It's just that he's not trying to play a lot of notes.
Yeah, he had the slow hand going.
It's got the
Like
slow
Clapton,
hand.
yeah.
Exactly. Where I'm going to play each note, and each note's going to matter.
Yep.
And that's more important than just how many notes can I fit into the 30 seconds they give me.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what upset me, though, is that he does such a great job. He's been with Earth, Wind, and Fire for 10 years, right? Doesn't even have a Wikipedia entry. This man is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Does not even get a Wikipedia entry.
Yeah. That's pretty bunk. But and honestly, I don't know if he's even still alive, man.
I do know Maurice is gone. Rest in peace, Maurice. He's
yeah.
out.
And there were a couple other members over the years. I remember
Right.
growing up that had died.
And now, who's still left in the band, before COVID?
So, I was about to say, you have the three that were there since this album.
That's the only ones we need to worry about.
Johnson, the only ones I'm going to name.
Mm-hmm.
White, Verdine, White,
Verdine White,
and Philip Bailey.
Philip Bailey, and who?
Johnson was it? Charles Arthur, not Arthur.
Come on, Ken, you're hurting my heart.
I got 500 people in that band.
Why are you choking? Why are you choking on the airways? Ralph Johnson.
Ralph. There we go.
Yeah, Ralph Johnson. Okay. So anyway, and look, finally, before we go on to the next song, I love that little vocal scat at the end of the song.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where he just starts.
Maurice.
Yeah, he just starts going off on his little scat. And what I find is that Philip Bailey, because that's who we grew up with, right? With Philip Bailey in our face, having the big hit in the 80s. He gets a lot of credit, man. But the more I listen to Maurice, I'm like, oh my God, Maurice can sing.
Oh yeah, the two of them, the blend. I'm telling you, we're only at track 2, but this entire album, because Maurice produced this album along with someone else.
Right, and that's why I think of Maurice, band leader, percussionist, or drummer, composer, producer.
Yeah.
Like the ringleader, the boss.
Yep.
I don't think, oh wait, the boss can sing.
Yeah.
He's not asking the band to do anything he can't do.
Yeah. You were spot on. He came correct. He was so talented, and he was able to take talent, harness other people's talent, and get the best out of them to bring his vision, to fruition. And
Right.
that's amazing in itself.
And a wonderful song. By far, one of the best songs, in my view, that Earth, Wind, and Fire has ever written.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what else can we follow that up with? You really can't, right? So let's move on to track 3.
Let us.
All right, song 3, side 1, Happy Feeling.
You know what I like about this song?
Talk to me.
First, this song depicts the title.
Absolutely.
And this is...
But what gives it that feeling?
Oh, well, definitely. This has the... I want to say the Earth, Wind, and Fire elements of their sound. Your percussion going, your up tempo, the Afro-Cuban influence.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this is where they show it to us, on the album. Like, hey, this is something we're into. This is something that is part of our sound. Here you go. Boom.
Man, I'm glad you said all that because it needed to be said, but you only had to say Verdine. More killer bass from Verdine throughout the whole song. Okay, but it's that great horn line, man. The horns, again, coming through, coming strong.
Earth, Wind, and Fire horns, my friend. They are a force of nature.
And we haven't talked about the sax player, Andrew Woolfolk. Okay? Man, I can't even pronounce that last name. Woolfolk. Huh. Anyway, great sax solo from him. And then you hear those vibes going off.
Yeah.
In the song too. And it's a happy song. You just feel like you want to smile. Almost like Shining Star.
Yeah.
But Shining Star kind of does it with the instruments, whereas this one does it with the instruments and the name of the song's Happy Feeling, kind of reminding you vocally, hey, you better smile.
Yeah. And it's part of their staple. You're going to have a funk or Afro. You're going to have an Afro-Cuban influence throughout what they do, and their lyrics when they're singing, they try to be uplifting. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they have problems in life, but they're making music, and they're like, it should be joyous.
And look, this song doesn't have a lot of lyrics. Okay, happy feeling in the music that we're giving. Feel the power of the hour every moment that you're living.
Yeah, boom.
There it is. Done.
There it is.
Okay.
And it's appropriate. It fits. It works with the song. Happy feeling. Yep.
Yeah. And look, I enjoy this song. Not my favorite song on the album, but I really do. I enjoy it. It's keeping with the flow.
Yeah.
Nothing much more to add there. You have anything more to add?
No, man.
Verdine. That's all you had to say, Ken. Could have talked about this song with one word. Listen to that bass, people. Listen to that bass. Anyway, let's move on. Next song, All About Love. First impression.
My first impression, when I hear this, I'm like, all right,
Well,
So
that's part of the title, all about love. In parentheses, first impression.
yeah,
I like the way you did that.
my
I didn't know.
segue
Yeah.
is I can see a young Keith Sweat burning a hole on this album.
Now listen.
This was he made this his template
Right.
for
Who's
his career.
Who's Keith Sweat?
Keith Sweat was what the kids would call a crooner in the 90s. He was an R&B singer. He
Was he 90s or 80s?
late 80s, early 90s, but you know,
Okay.
he was the ballads, R&B ballads. He was the ballad king, and he even had this one move that he'd do where he just sort of stood sideways. But if you listen to this song, you're like, okay, all right, Keith, it makes sense. I see where you're coming from.
And you're right, man. This is a ballad. This incorporates the string section, the big horn section, the piano, right?
Yeah.
This is a typical 70s soul ballad, right? That's
Yeah.
a fair way to sum it up. Okay. I think the song is strong, man. Decent way to end the first side.
Oh yeah.
It didn't deserve 7 minutes. We didn't need 7 minutes of this song, honestly.
No, and that's again where I say it's the Keith Sweat template, and the reason why it's so long, because you know Maurice is going on with the dialogue, almost the going to church with it,
Yeah.
if you
No,
will.
no, you're absolutely right. But it's not just his little rant at the end, right? His
Yeah.
little what do you call it? His spoken word in the middle of the song.
Yep.
Maurice can sing, man. Like, I don't look at him like Ernie Isley, okay?
Okay.
Great singer. Lionel Richie, like those guys. And maybe it's to Maurice's credit that he's such a good performer and such a great musician and band leader that you just think of him as the head of the snake.
Yeah.
I don't put him in that class of like all-time great singers. Not that he won't end up in there for me, just in my head. I haven't worked that out in my head that he's one of the best, but the more I listen to this album, I'm like, oh my God, this man can sing.
And I can relate to that, not personally, but like Nat King Cole. Voice smooth as that's what you think of whenever you think of Nat King Cole. Yeah, but people fail to realize that he was actually a piano virtuoso,
Right.
and redefined the way the piano was played in the 20th century. Because of his one talent that you're used to seeing, you overlook or you don't notice the other talents, I should say, with Maurice.
Yeah, and look, you mentioned it. We're going to talk about those lyrics right now about the spoken word.
Yeah.
And I told you we're going to bring the Manhattans back up.
Man.
Look, Kiss and Say Goodbye
Yep.
has that first spoken word verse.
Yeah.
Darling, I brought you here today for a bit of bad news. Right?
Hey, and all this said.
Hey, that's iconic, man. The Manhattans Kiss and Say Goodbye. If it was this or, this song, All About Love, I'm sorry, Kiss and Say Goodbye. #1 hit. One of the best ballads, soul ballads of all time.
Oh,
got that Barry White wannabe sounding voice, just killing me softly. Come on, man. What a great song.
Oh, yeah.
But man, we're going to talk about that song individually one day as one of our singles. Let's get back to this.
So I do have to say, as you mentioned, Maurice being a great vocalist. In my opinion, if you want to hear the best song that he sings on in their catalog, After the Love Is Gone. Period.
Right. And that has a great Philip Bailey complimentary vocal as well in the chorus. But look, he talks in this song and he's like, for instance, we study all kinds of sciences, astrology, mysticism, religion, so forth we did. And like coming from here, place, all these things help because if you're inside your inner self, have mercy. Like, what are you talking about? And now look, did you read the Maurice White biography I lent you?
No.
Oh, come on, Ken.
Well, you didn't lend it to me yet.
I did lend it to you.
No, I have the Wrecking Crew.
No, I gave it to you when you went on your trip and you just handed it back.
Yep, you're right. You're right.
I know I gave it to you. You didn't read it, man. Okay. Anyway.
But it makes for him to say that though, because that was what Maurice was into.
Well, right, because in a time of cocaine and quaaludes and decadence and drug overdoses, Maurice White was living clean, and
Oh,
he,
yeah.
he expected his bandmates to live clean too.
And that's why his brother is Verdine, still able to bounce around. Yo, man, that guy's old enough to be my grandfather, and he can still outrun and out hustle me on a stage, probably just in the day.
But he was. Maurice White was into that holistic health and lifestyle and the mysticism, and he's not afraid to show it. Like even in these lyrics,
Just look at their album covers, just
absolutely with the pyramids
Yeah.
and the
their
phoenixes.
wardrobe, their costumes, So yeah, he wasn't hiding it.
That's right. And so look, we've talked about album closers and side closers. As a side closer, again, like maybe I would have preferred like Happy Feeling or to save the title track for just to close the side, because there's going to be a pause. Back in the day, there's going to be a pause where you got to get up, flip the vinyl over. But do you do it on a song like this, which is good, but like I said, kind of overstays its welcome, or do you do it with like a song that punches you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a hard choice because look, great 1-2 combos starting it off, but I think that they could have ended the side on something else.
See, and I like how you brought that up, because you're right. They could have, because we are looking at this from now.
Sure.
We're able to look back. I'm seeing we're getting up. We're going to take the vinyl off. If you look at, Maurice's history
Yep.
and the other bands and whatnot they worked with and produced, I can see how, like Barbra Streisand, for instance, heard this album, side one was done, to get something to go change, like, oh, snap. Who did this? Who produced this? As they're flipping over. So they had that time to digest everything they heard, because side one, even though, this song did overstay its welcome, side one as a whole, that is a work of art. Whoever produced that right there could have said, you know what? All right, I'm done. Boom. I don't have to produce anything else ever again.
I like how you said Barbra Streisand. Man.
Well, because he worked with her.
Oh, okay. I've never listened to a Barbra Streisand album in my life. I don't intend to start now.
No.
She's on my no playlist. Her and the Eagles. I'm out.
But though she's on your no playlist, you know exactly who she is.
Well, yeah, because I saw Yentl when I was a kid, man.
Yeah, but I'm saying she's a name, and she stayed a name, and
Oh
he
no,
had a
of
part
course,
in
man.
it.
She's a legend. Yeah.
So he added, he contributed to her being a legend.
I still don't know what that has to do with ending the side with this song.
I think that them ending it with this song allowed what you heard throughout side one to permeate.
I got you.
And
Okay.
you had that time to absorb it before you flipped it over.
All right. I'll accept that. Well, let's check out side two. Okay, and side two, Ken, starts with Yearning Learning.
Yeah.
All right, and I like this song, man, but when that song first kicks in,
That piano tells you, it grabs you and says, hey, you gonna groove with me here.
that's right. And for me, that piano groove is very reminiscent of Billy Preston. Early 70s Billy Preston.
Yes.
Something for nothing
Yeah.
and that vibe.
No.
But then when the horns come in, along with that Billy Preston piano groove,
It's
cool and the game. I'm sorry, man. Look, I know you may call it the Earth, Wind, and Fire sound. To me, that is so Cool in the Gang. Nothing wrong with that, because I love Cool in the Gang.
Oh yeah, because for that to work, we're talking Jungle Boogie. So
Yes.
by all means, yes.
Which was the big hit a year before this.
Yeah. So
Right.
all about
Hollywood Swinging,
that.
Jungle Boogie, all of that.
All about it.
And look, man, for me and my money, the funk R&B soul bands that I'm going to put my money on, mid to late 70s, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Cool in the Gang, the Commodores.
Yes.
All of them had 8 to 10 members. All of them were multi-instrumentalists, right?
Yeah, you had a lot going on.
Had a lot going on. And they were all kind of not competing for the same audience, but breathing the same airspace
Yes.
at the same time.
Yes.
Okay. And by far the biggest star of any member of any of those bands, Lionel Richie.
Oh,
From
absolutely.
the Commodores. I knew Philip Bailey and Maurice White, from Earth, Wind, and Fire before we ever thought of doing this podcast. To this day, I couldn't name you one member of Kool and the Gang. And they're the one I like the most.
Yeah, which is funny.
They are, because so people out there that don't know, I do what I call deep dives on albums.
Yes.
And I don't just listen to
Not
one
on
album.
albums, an artist. Yeah.
I listen to every album from that
The
artist.
entire discography.
Until they come a point where they've already jumped the shark and they're just not the same band. Because there are a lot of artists that I love in the 70s that once that 80s sound comes in and they try to adapt to the 80s sound, I can't do it, man. I tap out after one or two 80s albums. I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I got this year to this year and I'm good with that. Okay? But I love Kool and the Gang more than like any other funk R&B outfit of the 70s. I just think they're amazing. Machine Gun is amazing. That's a bona fide classic. But anyway, let's discuss these three because honestly, that's who this song reminds me of, man. It's Kool and the Gang. If somebody forced you to, okay? They're hanging your guitar over the ledge, and you got to name your three, because I know that means more life to you.
Ooh.
Yeah. Put them in order: Earth, Wind, and Fire, Kool and the Gang, and the Commodores.
Actually, I'd put them in the order you just named them: Earth, Wind, and Fire, Kool and the Gang, and Commodores. Yeah.
Okay. And for me, now look, I just said I love Kool and the Gang the most. I like the Commodore songs the most, but I like the musicianship and the instrumental sound of Kool and the Gang the most. But I think Earth, Wind, and Fire mixes the two better. This is the most non-committal answer you'll ever hear.
Yeah.
But I really believe that to be true, that the melodies of the Commodores, by far the catchiest and the easiest songs to sing along with. Kool and the Gang, when I hear an instrumental from Kool and the Gang, I'm not pressing skip. I'm letting it play because I want to see what kind of layers they're adding on. But I think that the musical ability of the Earth, Wind, and Fire musicians combined with the vocals is the best of the three.
Yeah,
it's
and-
this weird mix where I like different elements of each.
And you're onto something. I mean, it may sound non-committal, but no, you're right, because so look, those spectrums. You have the Commodores. Lionel Richie's gone down in history as one of the greatest songwriters in America.
Right.
Okay, like he broke Cole Porter records.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they're going to craft some songs that you are going to sing melodies that we know that's Michael Jordan of songs right there.
Right.
And Kool and the Gang, yeah, those instrumentals, that musicianship, that was tight. Earth, Wind, and Fire, you're right. They are that combination of the two because Maurice can write a song.
No, but
And the musicianship from the band. And yeah, so it's
Yes,
a
sir.
perfect mesh of those two capabilities, qualities you see in the other bands, just amalgamated into one.
well, and because I've listened to all of their albums, for me, it's Kool and the Gang, then the Commodores, then Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yep.
Only because we're talking about the cream of the crop from Earth, Wind, and Fire right here. That's the way of the world album.
Yeah.
I don't think their other albums live up to that promise. Do you understand where I'm
Yeah.
coming from? There are elements of greatness. We've already talked about it. September, After the Love Is Gone, maybe the greatest ballad of all time. Okay. Boogie Wonderland,
Yeah.
duet
yeah,
with the Emotions.
Emotions.
Okay, so they've done great things. I'm just saying, for my money, it's Kool and the Gang. So when I hear a Kool and the Gang riff or vibe, I'm all over it, man. Because look, what I'm going to say is pre-disco 70 funk is, oh man, it's one of my favorite types of music. I love heavy metal. I love punk. I love old 60s British invasion bands. And I love pre-disco 70s funk and R&B, man. I love it. Okay? Because look how many songs we've talked about and how many bands and artists we talked about from that era, from
Yeah.
that 1970 to 75 era.
Yeah, it's authentic. You can hear it, you can feel it, you can taste it.
And they always want to add those horns to add that extra layer. And there's always some bass player I'd never heard of before I talk to you. And all of a sudden he's my favorite musician of all time. Okay. And that's what this song is, right? It's that dance funk that's pre-disco.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And before we move on to the next song, guess who's still kicking?
Yeah, Verdine.
Verdine's still on that bass.
Throwing it down.
Man, he's so great, man. I feel the way I did when I was marking out for Larry Graham or John Tyler. I really do. I was just like, oh my God, he's such a great bassist. Anyway.
And these bands, like with Earth, Wind & Fire, back in the day, you would see a band like this at a party. If you went to not say a house party, but a big party, a big event type deal, this is what you would hear. This is how they were throwing it down.
Right.
And this is why they were able to capture that feel-good vibe in their music.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's move on to the next song.
Yeah.
Now, this next song, song 6 on the album, song 2 on side 2, Reasons.
Ah, yes.
Now, this is pure 70s soul ballad here, man.
This is the Philip Bailey showcase.
Hey, by all means. This is the spotlight on Philip Bailey. Now, look. If what was the song? Love is all, or
After Love Is Gone?
No. The song we reviewed on side 1.
Oh,
song 4.
Yeah. All About Love.
All About Love. If that's Keith Sweat, right? This has to be the who's bigger than Keith Sweat, man? Come on, help me out. Bobby Brown?
No, but here's the thing about
oh
this
yeah,
song,
Bobby
man.
Brown on crack.
Can't nobody touch this. But since we're going back, or we're comparison, this is where, and an album that artists we've talked about, It Ain't Over Till It's Over.
Yeah.
Lenny Kravitz's like, wow, what was he listening to? What was in his ear?
And this is only a couple of years before Prince released his first album too.
Yeah.
You know, you notice Prince sang those first 2 albums in falsetto.
Yes.
That's Philip Bailey right there,
Yes.
because this is the Philip Bailey tour de force. He was the one person that when they took their hiatus to have a hit album from Earth, Wind & Fire.
Yep. Easy Lover, baby.
That's it. An Easy Lover. We'll probably actually end up doing that as a song eventually, because we already did the single In the Air Tonight for Phil Collins. And we're talking about Earth, Wind & Fire and Philip Bailey here. So at some point, we're doing Easy Lover, man.
Oh, for real.
Because that's my first exposure to Philip Bailey.
Man, so I'm a little story. Not even much of a story.
No, tell it.
So I saw Earth, Wind & Fire back in 95, 96.
Jealous.
And so Maurice had retired at this point.
Okay.
So
did he come back, though, before? Like, after that?
I think he might have done a show here or there, like a one-off. But he was pretty much retired from performing and just in the studio producing. So, and even now, if you see them, once the world returns to normal, Philip does double duty. So he's singing Maurice's lines and then singing his lines. So like everything we've heard so far has been a call response.
Right.
Between the two. So he's singing Maurice and then he's popping acrobatically to his falsetto part.
That takes talent.
Oh my, yes. So there's a reason why you hear many songs covered from the 70s. You don't ever hear anybody cover this one. And you probably won't for the next 50 years or so.
Right.
When I saw them live, Philip, he did this song. Of course, they did this song. I'm a musician. I make music. I sing. I've been played with singers. This man sang higher than any human, not just any male or female, human that I'd ever heard before or since in my life. This man went so high, I swear there were dogs a mile down the street freaking out.
Oh my God.
I never heard a human sing that high. Mariah Carey, nothing on him. He's got a 4-octave range.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now look, this song has been sampled and covered by a bunch of artists, but it never released as a single by Earth, Wind & Fire.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It's on their greatest hits.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
but not released as a single. I don't understand. They could have had another top 40 hit.
Yeah.
This song, it doesn't overstay its welcome the same way that All About Love does. Okay? It doesn't have the weird ending. And they could have edited it for radio, but I don't understand why this song that highlights Philip Bailey, and which this was his showcase in concert too.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they didn't release it as a single. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. And again, we also look at this from hindsight.
Yeah. And to be fair, and we're going to wrap this song up with this is how we're going to sum it up. Many babies were conceived to this song in the mid-70s.
Yeah.
Some of your friends were probably conceived to this song,
Yes,
Ken.
this song and Barry White did much for the 70s population.
Call it the R&B baby boom, man. Anyway, let's go on to the next song, man. Song 3 on side 2. Africano.
Yeah.
Now, look. I was looking at the artist in Earth, Wind & Fire, and you try and make sense because there's so many members.
Yeah.
Who does what? Multiple people played percussion on this album. Maurice, as we talked about earlier, a drummer for his career.
Yep.
Al Mckay, the guitarist, played percussion. Verdine, the bassist, played percussion. Our man, Philip Bailey, guess what he did? He played the congas, right? And Fred, the drummer. Oh, him and the other drummer, whatever his name was, I don't even remember. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Fred White. Played percussion. And if you look at Earth, Wind & Fire on the live video footage, you'll see them exchanging instruments. The guitar player then puts up a trumpet to his mouth, starts playing the trumpet, doing a trumpet solo. You know, right?
Yeah.
Our man Verdine, he'll do some stage performing in the concert act where you hear a bass, but he's not on the bass. You see someone else with a bass in their hand playing bass. Like, just great multi-instrumentalist. And this one is an instrumental. No words, okay? It starts with the flute, so the piano player,
Yeah.
Andrew Woolfolk, right? The synth player, organ player, keyboards. Well, now he's going to be the flute player too. Oh, wait, sorry. He was the sax player. I'm sorry. Larry Dunn was the keyboard player. But this guy was the saxophone player, and he was an official member of Earth, Wind & Fire. He's playing the flutes now.
Yeah, that's about right. Most
Yeah,
sax players will
because
double
the
up.
woodwind instruments. Got you. But, dude, there are all kinds of things happening here.
I like the flute intro in this song.
No, I like the whole song.
Yeah.
We talk about instrumentals because remember we did Sex Machine off Sly Stone. I
Yeah.
think you called it your least favorite song on the album, right? Or no,
Yeah.
or maybe it was the other one on song.
I think that was my least favorite.
And that was 13 minutes.
Yeah.
This one, 5 minutes, a little over 5 minutes. I didn't want it to end. I wanted it to be 8-9 minutes long. And you know that's not who I am.
And I guess that's probably why, since you brought up Sly, why I liked this one and not that one, because this left me wanting more. Whereas Sly's like, okay, I got it.
But it was incomplete. That's how I felt. Like, yeah, it did, but it was incomplete. And I'm going to talk about that on the last song, but it's my only complaint because I liked it so much. And they faded it out.
Yeah.
It would
And
be
I was
one
about to
thing
say,
if the song ended. They faded the song out. I'm like, wait a minute, those guys were still jamming in the studio.
Whereas you could tell that's their live track. That's where they jam, they throw
Yep.
down, they give Maurice and Philip a break, for the vocal acrobatics that they do all night. And
Or they'll also open with this song as well
yeah.
to get the crowd up.
Yeah, oh yeah, this is definitely, a hype song. What did this groove in this song remind you of, this instrumental?
Africa? I don't know. Wait.
Well, so yeah, that. And we didn't touch on this yet with this album, which we have to before we
Talk to
leave. It had the 70s blaxploitation
Oh, yeah.
groove to it.
No doubt.
Yeah.
That Curtis Mayfield vibe.
And so the
Isaac Hayes. Another musician, another Memphis musician.
yeah. So the movie to put, to kick off the blaxploitation was Sweetback's badass song.
Right. And to be fair, this was a movie soundtrack.
Yes, and
This
that's
is
what
the
I'm
movie
saying.
soundtrack,
So
yeah.
that's the way of the world, and we hadn't mentioned that.
Right.
Now, the blaxploitation, the foundation of, or the standard Movie number one, out the gate, Sweetback's movie, Melvin Van Peebles. Guess who did the soundtrack?
Who?
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Makes sense. Got it.
So you hear that blaxploitation sound, it's like, oh yeah, and they're like, oh no, this is us. Yeah, it's blaxploitation to you because we created it.
Now I want to go back, and that's interesting. I want to go back because we were talking about Earth, Wind, and Fire's live show. Okay, and you know how this was a showstopper. Oh my God, people, go watch live footage of Earth, Wind, and Fire in the 70s. Because look, man, in the 70s, more than any other decade, is where we really started seeing the development of a real live stage show.
Yep.
These are the bands that came out of the 70s. Earth, Wind, and Fire, Parliament, Funkadelic, Kiss. Those shows promised you a crazy stage show.
Known for their stage shows, yeah.
So Kiss, we know about the fire breathing and the rockets coming out of guitars and the stage elevate. We know about that. We know Parliament Funkadelic had spaceships and George Clinton's crazy costumes. Or Earth, Wind, and Fire is like, we can do spaceships, we can do crazy costumes, and we can hire a magician to help with our stage show. And so tell the people out there a little bit about that.
So when I was in school, I had a professor, and it was funny because the philosophy class I was taking, soul music. And he was like, I saw Earth, Wind, and Fire at the blah, blah back in 1970, whatever. And that was amazing. And they're like, yeah, Doug Henning came out and did magic tricks and did magic tricks with the band while they're playing and stuff like that. And so this was, the 90s. And I know I'm dating myself. Hey.
Don't worry about it. Just tell
I ain't worried about it. And so that stuck with me, the fact that here I am at that point, it was 20 years later, and he was still vibing on this show like it was yesterday, but this was like 25 years ago in his life,
right?
And he's just, oh my God, this was, yeah.
And there's a concert on YouTube where you see Verdine, the craziest bassist you've ever seen in your life. You see him, and the lights start flashing, the strobes start kicking in, and there he is. He was once standing, and now he's horizontal with the stage, playing his bass sideways.
Yeah, like he's levitated.
Right.
Yeah, and it's awesome because you're correct when you name the bands who set the standard for a live show. And if that does not meet or set a standard for a live show, when have you ever seen anything like that? When I saw that clip,
I'm an old dog, man. I don't expect new tricks, kid. Yeah. My jaw dropped when I watched it.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. Now I know why my professor remembered it so vivid decades later.
Right. And that they were really known for that. And this song really encapsulates that.
Yeah.
So did I say that right? I think I did. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Let's move on. Final song of the album, See the Light. Now look. This is another 6-minute song, Ken.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is where you see other musical influences like jazz. Maybe Miles Davis, something avant-garde here. Because if you listen to it, there's almost like 3 movements to the song, right?
Yeah.
The first movement, which I call searching because that's really the, searching. Anyway, it's like that avant-garde jazz, like it's just kind of all over the place, man. It's scrambling your brain. Then the second movement, standard 70s soul with the chorus with the title coming out. And then the final movement, you got these African chants and rhythms to fade out the album. Okay? But I thought 6.5 minutes was just too long for this song. I don't think it's the strongest song on the album. Because we talk about album closers all the time. And I love a great album closer. I love it. So where I'm excited to talk about that album because the last thing I heard was a great song on the album. I don't think they accomplished that here. Yeah. Fight me.
So, first off, it's interesting you mentioned Miles Davis because he was an Earth, Wind, and Fire fan.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like he would state it.
And I'm sure Maurice liked him too, man. He's a jazz musician.
Yeah. 2, I don't necessarily disagree with you about it not being the strong because I feel the same way. But 3, I can see why they would end with this song because the same motif they introduced at the end of track 4
Yep.
is how they close out the album or this last track.
But with the African chanting
Chant on top of it. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That'd be interesting. Be able to sit down with Verdine, Philip, or Ralph, since they were there, and ask what's the significance of that theme.
Right. And,
You know.
And look, man, it's still Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I always like it when musicians, you know, go out. But what's weird is I already said, hey, this had some jazz sounds, this had some standard soul, some African, you know, chants. But the vibe it gave me, not the sound, but the vibe it gave me, is like a progressive rock song from like the 70s, like Yes or Emerson, Lake and Palmer, where they just like switch from movement to movement. And you're like, why'd you go left when you were supposed to go right? And you're going to zigzag now. And that's how I felt listening to this song. Why are you zigzagging on me, man? Especially like this whole album is full of like grooves. And we keep seeing it. Verdine, right? Just throwing on grooves, man. Groove after groove. And with grooves, you just keep going. And this one keeps zigzagging on me. Just, it's too much, man.
And that makes sense. In the jazz world at this time, this is what they were gravitating toward, because remember, Sly Stone turned everyone on their ear as far as in the jazz world.
Right.
Herbie Hancock, Miles Davis, they were all seeking the deeper R&B funk groove with what they were doing. So I could see how everyone was chasing that, but this was the sound that Maurice was already chasing.
Right. And from his background, man,
it makes sense.
He liked the world. He liked the world music at the time. He was a jazz musician, one of the greatest soul performers of the day.
Yep.
Look, man, I'm not knocking that.
Oh, no way.
I'm just saying it wasn't the best way to end the album.
It definitely was not as strong as it opened. That's fact.
Right. No.
That's a fact.
And look, this is a great album. Like, because you and I normally do not review albums that aren't great albums.
Yeah.
We probably will in the future.
Yeah.
But we normally don't.
True.
Okay? And so this is one of the greatest albums of all time. This is on all the lists of greatest albums of all time.
Yeah.
The placement may vary, but it's always on the list.
How I say, and because I've said it before on the show, there are certain albums that if you are a true lover of music, you must own. This is one of them.
Right. And look, that's Ken's opinion, and we respect Ken's opinion. I never even listened to the whole thing until the last year, man. And
Hey.
Look, there is no way in my lifetime that you would ever say, Will, you are not a lover of music.
But then again, you don't have Kind of Blue yet either, but you will.
Oh, I do.
Oh, see?
I got it digitally.
There you go.
I'll have it on vinyl now.
Oh, but I don't know.
1952 or whatever the hell it was released.
49. I don't have any of them on vinyl either.
I don't have the phonograph set up, Ken. It's my bad. Anyway. All right, Ken. This is the time when we talk about our favorite song and our least favorite song.
I propose for our favorite songs, we don't count the 3.
So
The
our
3
favorite of the
mega hits.
5? Come
Yeah,
on,
the
man.
favorite of the... Well, come on.
Yeah. I got you. So what do you got?
So for my... You know what? I'm going to do my least favorite first.
Go
with
for it.
The last track.
See the Light.
Yeah.
In full agreement there. That's my least favorite song.
My favorite, Happy Feeling.
Okay. I'm not even mad at you. I like that song. So my favorite song is the title track, but I know I'm not allowed to choose that. Okay, so the song that's not a hit, I'm gonna go with Yearning and Learning because it sounds like Cool in the Game.
Yeah, and I ain't mad at it because it's the same vibe.
Look, this whole album is great. Okay, I just thought there were a couple of moments, mainly the 2 side closers, where it was long in the tooth. That last song went 6 minutes plus. They could have even easily given 2 minutes to Africano to finish off that song, man.
Yeah.
I wanted more of that song. That's why I didn't choose it as my favorite. Okay, because I saw the live version, like where they're just all going nuts and playing different instruments, and Maurice is freaking out, and Philip Phillips hitting those congos, and you got 10 drummers on stage, and you're just like, oh my God, this is too much, right? It's so exciting. This is what it was like to see Earth, Wind, and Fire in the 70s. And they're like, we're going to play this other song that isn't as good and give it the same amount of time, man. Made me mad. Anyway, so look, we're definitely going to go with the last song as my least favorite. I love these albums that we talk about from the 70s, especially when I discover them, because both of us kind of discovered the Isleys 3+3 at the same time. We knew the Isleys were good, but we didn't know like how good they were and how good they were at reinventing old songs. And, we discovered. For me, this is discovering Earth, Wind, and Fire and appreciating them in a new way, because before I firmly had them below Kool and the Gang and the Commodores. No, they're top, they're up in that echelon.
Yeah.
Of powerhouses. And I didn't appreciate them before. I even knew they were your favorite band, man. The same way you're not a Beatles fan, I was not an Earth, Wind, and Fire fan. I am an Earth, Wind, and Fire fan. I have Maurice White's biography that you didn't read.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, I'm into this band. I love them. All right? So we had that there. But to have those kind of accolades, to then have the core of your band tour for 50 years, there's something to be said for that longevity. It doesn't matter if we feel, are they relevant today or not? The main members that are alive and well, Maurice White's vision still lives on 50 years later.
Yep.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And the influence of his vision on other bands.
How many times has Earth, Wind, and Fire been sampled? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Countless.
Matter of fact, Raphael Sadiq, who's one of the lead singers, Tony.
Yep.
He did an album. This is probably about 10 years ago, and Maurice was still alive, and it was a collaboration. Earth, Wind, and Fire played on his track, or track or two on his album.
Honestly, it almost feels like someone who does biographies could do an entire podcast biography just on Maurice White's life. I mean, think about this. Memphis, best friends with Booker T. Jones, Ramsey Lewis Trio, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh, yeah.
The influence he had post-career. Come on, man.
Oh, and he, outside of Earth, Wind, and Fire, it was a laundry list of other performers and artists that he produced.
Right.
You've often heard me say, I don't think that Maurice White slept in his lifetime, because he was so prolific. You're like, oh my goodness, when did this man sleep?
Doesn't matter, man. If he believes in healthy living the way he does with all of his spiritual hoo-ha, that man was sleeping, man. Anyway, look, people, if you get a chance to listen to this album, then leave in the comments your favorite song, least favorite song, what your thoughts are on Earth, Wind, and Fire. If you get a chance, please watch those YouTube videos of them playing live in concert.
You will be amazed.
It's an experience. It's not just a musical journey. It's just an experience. I wish we had live music right now to be able to see that. Oh, absolutely. And if you enjoyed today's show, hit the like button. And if you want to hear more shows, please hit subscribe. Until next time, bye-bye.
Peace.